Alice Kingsley felt trapped. Ever since her father's passing, the weight of the world seemed to rest on her small shoulders. Society dictated she marry well, securing her place in their rigid structure. But Alice yearned for more than corsets and curtsies. She dreamed of faraway lands and fantastical creatures. Every night, visions of a strange and wondrous place filled her sleep. These dreams, vivid and exhilarating, felt more real than the stuffy drawing rooms she was expected to grace. The dreams whispered of talking rabbits and grinning cats. They spoke of impossible things, of worlds hidden within our own. Alice felt an undeniable pull towards these visions. She longed to escape the confines of her reality and embrace the unknown. But society's expectations held her captive, or so she thought. The whispers in her dreams grew stronger. They promised adventure, danger, and a chance to discover who she truly was. Alice felt a fire ignite within her, a spark of defiance against the life being planned for her. Little did she know her destiny awaited just beyond the looking glass. The garden party was in full swing. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers and the soft hum of polite conversation. The sun cast a golden glow over the manicured lawns, making the scene look like a painting come to life. Ladies gossiped over teacups, their words like venomous wasps buzzing in Alice's ears. They spoke of trivial matters, yet their tones were sharp, dissecting every detail of each other's lives with a precision that was almost surgical. Gentlemen in their starched collars discussed politics and business, their voices droning on and on. They seemed oblivious to the world around them, lost in their own self-importance. Their laughter was hollow, echoing the emptiness of their conversations. Alice felt a wave of nausea wash over her. She needed to escape, to breathe. The walls of the garden seemed to close in on her, the vibrant colors and cheerful sounds becoming overwhelming. She felt like she was drowning in a sea of superficiality. Then, it happened. Hamish, pompous, condescending Hamish with his receding hairline and even more receding personality, chose that moment to propose. He dropped to one knee, holding out a ring that sparkled in the sunlight, a symbol of a future Alice couldn't bear to imagine. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. The chattering guests, the manicured lawns, the saccharine sweetness of the petit fours. It all blurred into a dizzying kaleidoscope. The colors swirled together, the sounds became a cacophony, and Alice felt like she was spinning out of control. Alice's heart hammered against her ribs. She had to get out. The pressure in her chest was unbearable, and she felt like she might explode if she didn't find a way to escape. Her breaths came in short, panicked gasps, and she knew she couldn't stay there a moment longer. She fled, ignoring the gasps and whispers that followed her like shadows. The guests' shocked faces blurred past her as she ran, their judgmental eyes piercing her back. But she didn't care. She couldn't care. All that mattered was getting away. Her eyes, wide with panic, scanned the crowd for an escape route. She felt trapped, like a caged bird desperate to spread its wings and fly. Every direction seemed blocked by curious onlookers, their faces a wall of disapproval. And then she saw him, the white rabbit, dashing across the lawn, a pocket watch clutched in his paw. He was a beacon of hope in her chaotic world, a symbol of the adventure and freedom she craved. Without hesitation, Alice sprinted after him, her cumbersome dress billowing behind her like a runaway cloud. The fabric snagged on bushes and trailed in the dirt, but she didn't slow down. Her focus was entirely on the rabbit, her lifeline in that moment of madness. She didn't care about the impropriety, the scandalized whispers. She had to follow that rabbit. The voices of the guests faded into the background, their shocked exclamations becoming nothing more than white noise. All that mattered was the chase. He was the key, she just knew it. He was the way out of this suffocating reality and into the wondrous world of her dreams. The rabbit represented a promise of something more, something beyond the mundane and the expected, and Alice was determined to seize that promise no matter the cost. The rabbit, a blur of white against the green, disappeared down a hole at the base of a large oak tree. Its movements were quick and deliberate, as if it knew exactly where it was going. The sight was almost mesmerizing, the contrast of its white fur against the lush green grass creating a scene that seemed to beckon anyone who saw it to follow. Alice, her breath catching in her throat, didn't hesitate. She followed, tumbling headfirst into the darkness. The decision was made in an instant, driven by a mix of curiosity and an inexplicable urge to chase the unknown. As she leaped, the world above seemed to vanish, replaced by an overwhelming sense of freefall. The air rushed past her, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and something altogether stranger. It was a scent she couldn't quite place, a mix of the familiar and the foreign, like a memory from a dream. The tunnel seemed to stretch on forever, the walls a blur of shadows and fleeting glimpses of light. The fall seemed to last an eternity. Alice tumbled past shelves filled with peculiar jars and curious contraptions. Each item she passed seemed to tell a story, a fragment of a world she had yet to understand. There were jars filled with glowing liquids, gadgets that whirred and clicked, and objects that defied explanation. She glimpsed strange maps and nonsensical poems pinned to the walls. The maps depicted lands she had never heard of, with names that twisted her tongue just to think of them. The poems, written in a script that seemed to dance on the page, spoke of adventures and riddles, of places where logic held no sway. It was like falling through a dream, a bizarre and beautiful freefall. The sensation was both exhilarating and terrifying, a mix of weightlessness and the constant rush of air. Colors and shapes swirled around her, creating a tapestry of wonder that seemed to stretch on without end. Finally, with a bone-jarring thud, she landed on a bed of soft moss. The impact knocked the breath from her lungs, but the softness of the moss cushioned her fall. She lay there for a moment, staring up at the tunnel she had just fallen through, trying to make sense of the journey she had just undertaken. She sat up, dazed, and looked around. She was in a circular room with doors of all shapes and sizes lining the curved walls. Each door was unique, some tall and narrow, others short and wide, and all of them seemed to pulse with a life of their own. The room itself felt alive, as if it were watching her, waiting for her to make a move. Each door hummed with an unknown energy, beckoning her closer. The hum was almost musical, a low, resonant sound that seemed to vibrate through her very bones. She could feel the pull of each door, each one promising a different adventure, a different story waiting to be told. Alice knew with a certainty that settled deep within her bones that she was no longer in her own world. This place, with its strange doors and humming energy, was something entirely different. It was a place where the rules of her world no longer applied, where the impossible became possible. She had stepped through the looking glass and into a realm of wonder and impossibilities. This was a place where dreams and reality intertwined, where every step could lead to a new discovery. The very air seemed to shimmer with magic, and she felt a thrill of excitement at the thought of what lay ahead. And she wouldn't have it any other way. This was her adventure, her journey into the unknown. She felt a sense of purpose, a determination to explore every corner of this strange new world. With a deep breath, she stood up, ready to face whatever came next, knowing that this was just the beginning of her incredible journey. The White Rabbit, a blur of white fur and nervous energy, led Alice on a merry chase through a land of talking flora and singing fauna. His constant checking of a pocket watch and muttering about being late added to the urgency of their journey. The forest itself seemed alive, with flowers that whispered secrets and trees that swayed to an unheard melody. Birds with vibrant plumage sang harmonies that filled the air with an almost tangible magic. Alice, though initially bewildered, couldn't help but be drawn into the enchanting rhythm of this peculiar world. She encountered the Cheshire Cat, his grin both unsettling and strangely comforting. His ability to appear and disappear at will left Alice both amused and perplexed. The cat's cryptic advice and riddles seemed nonsensical at first, but as Alice pondered his words, she began to see the hidden wisdom within them. The Cheshire Cat's enigmatic presence was a constant reminder that in Wonderland, nothing was as it seemed, and every encounter held a deeper meaning. She shared tea and riddles with the Mad Hatter and the March Hare, their chaotic energy both exhilarating and terrifying. The tea party was a whirlwind of clinking cups, flying saucers, and nonsensical conversations. The Hatter's eccentricity and the Hare's manic behavior created an atmosphere of delightful madness. Alice found herself caught up in their antics, laughing at their absurd jokes and marveling at the sheer unpredictability of it all. Despite the chaos, there was a strange sense of camaraderie among the tea party guests, a bond forged in the shared experience of Wonderland's madness. Alice met a caterpillar who smoked a hookah and spoke in riddles, his words both infuriating and strangely insightful. Perched atop a giant mushroom, the caterpillar exhaled clouds of fragrant smoke that swirled into intricate patterns. His slow, deliberate speech forced Alice to listen carefully, and though his questions often left her frustrated, they also prompted her to think more deeply about her own identity and purpose. The caterpillar's enigmatic presence was a catalyst for Alice's introspection, pushing her to question everything she thought she knew. She found herself shrinking and growing, her size fluctuating with each sip of a mysterious potion or bite of enchanted cake. The sensation of changing size was disorienting, yet it also opened up new perspectives and possibilities. As a tiny version of herself, Alice discovered hidden nooks and crannies filled with wonders she would have otherwise overlooked. When she grew to an enormous size, she saw the world from a vantage point that revealed its intricate beauty and complexity. These transformations were not just physical, but also symbolic of Alice's evolving understanding of herself and her place in Wonderland. Through it all, Alice's initial fear gave way to a sense of wonder. The more she explored, the more she realized that Wonderland was a place where the impossible became possible, where imagination reigned supreme. Each new discovery filled her with awe and curiosity, driving her to delve deeper into the mysteries of this fantastical realm. The forest, with its ever-changing landscape and magical inhabitants, became a playground for Alice's adventurous spirit. She embraced the absurdity, the impossible logic of this strange new world. The nonsensical rules and whimsical characters no longer seemed threatening but rather a delightful challenge to her conventional thinking. Alice laughed with the talking flowers, danced with the singing birds, and engaged in playful banter with the creatures she met. Her openness to the absurd allowed her to fully immerse herself in the magic of Wonderland, transforming her journey into a joyous exploration of the unknown. With each encounter, with each challenge, Alice felt herself changing. The trials she faced, whether it was solving a riddle or navigating a labyrinth, tested her resilience and ingenuity. She learned to trust her instincts, to think creatively, and to remain calm in the face of uncertainty. These experiences not only strengthened her character, but also deepened her connection to Wonderland. Alice began to see herself as an integral part of this magical world, her growth mirroring the ever-evolving landscape around her. The timid girl who had stumbled into Wonderland began to find her voice, her strength. She spoke up when she encountered injustice, stood her ground against intimidating foes, and offered help to those in need. Alice's newfound confidence was a beacon of light in the often bewildering darkness of Wonderland. Her journey was no longer just about finding a way home. It was about discovering who she truly was and what she was capable of achieving. The world of Wonderland, as she soon learned it was called, was not merely a whimsical dreamscape. Beneath its enchanting surface lay hidden dangers and ancient secrets. The shadows held creatures that whispered of forgotten magic and long-lost tales. Alice realized that Wonderland was a place of duality, where light and dark coexisted in a delicate balance. This understanding added a layer of complexity to her adventure, making her more vigilant and perceptive. It was a land of hidden dangers and forgotten magic. The more Alice explored, the more she uncovered the mysteries that lay beneath the surface. She encountered beings who spoke of ancient prophecies and relics imbued with powerful enchantments. These discoveries hinted at a deeper purpose to her journey, suggesting that Alice's presence in Wonderland was not a mere accident, but part of a grander design. The sense of destiny that began to unfold added a new dimension to her adventure, filling her with both excitement and trepidation. And Alice, much to her surprise, found herself at the very heart of it. She became a central figure in the unfolding narrative of Wonderland, her actions influencing the fate of its inhabitants. The realization of her importance was both empowering and daunting. Alice understood that her journey was not just about personal growth, but also about making a difference in the world around her. With this newfound sense of purpose, she embraced her role with determination and courage, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead in the wondrous land of Wonderland.